We're good?
Check.
Oh. Been a couple weeks now. For the longest gap.
It's been 2 weeks?
It's been about 2 weeks, yeah.
Yeah, we missed 2 weeks.
We're good. Yep.
All right. Welcome, everyone, to the 034 Motorsport live chat. I'm Javad Shadzi, and this is Nate Stewart. We're here to answer all your questions about all things 034, as well as any other automotive questions you have. And we're always happy to discuss any kind of topic if you're interested. This is episode, what, 232? So very, very exciting. Sorry we haven't been here for 2 weeks. We just had some personal life stuff come up, but we're back.
It happens, yeah.
Yeah.
All good things.
Yeah, so putting your question into the comment field of your choice. We're on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. We're deprioritizing questions about updates, about when things are going to be done. We don't always have good answers for that stuff, so we'd rather engage with the topical questions that we can actually answer. So if you do ask an update question, you feel free to submit it. Just don't get upset if we don't answer it. That's why. Our goal is to get to all the questions that we do have answers for. And so we got questions rolling in. Let's get started. Someone says, quick question. I have a 2018 S5 Stage 2, and I keep running through O2 sensors like when Augustus sees chocolate. I've replaced it too many times to count.
What are the, I would ask, like, I guess, what are the specific faults you're getting on those?
Yeah.
They're, and is it primary or secondary you're losing? But we usually see the harnesses get damaged on install of, like, catalysts and things, or when taking them in and out. But beyond that, I don't think we've gone through many here at all on our internal cars. All of the ones we generally see publicly are damaged in some way, so I'm not sure, I guess, what the faults you're getting are. We would certainly want to take a look at that and see if there's some kind of trend we can figure out, because there's nothing specific to, like, the stage 2 file that would be causing that by any means. Yeah, no, we'd have to go through. Let's get you, if you're not already talking with support. I'm guessing you are, but yeah, we'll have to dig deeper and try and see if there's some sort of reason or pattern.
Yeah. There's just a lot more that we would need to know.
Yeah.
But the part about Augustus and chocolate was very interesting. Someone's giving a shout out to Justin. Nice job, Justin. Will you ever make a full, complete high-pressure fuel pump for the B9 V6 cars like you do the 2-liter platform? We don't currently have plans to. The Mark 7 2-liter pump has been a good seller and been, overall good, but we just have less QC and warranty issues with the piston products, and the cost is lower. So,
there's no real. Yeah, we're not improving or changing it in any way that is. The OEM system is fully capable for the parts that aren't replaced to do what we need.
Yeah, it's just not having to open up the pump and do all that.
Yeah.
So it does save the work and effort, which is why we sell the other one. We'll consider it, but those types of full pump products are even more expensive to develop. They're more expensive to the end customer. Typically, you're looking at a rather large 6-figure investment for us, and that's a lot of money even for us. So that's why we're not currently talking about releasing one, but anything is possible. Someone's asking about where GTI RS is currently. I don't know for sure, but the last time, and I believe this is still the case, but it could have changed, that it was in Nebraska, registered as a road legal car there, because apparently, I don't know, I think you can register
pretty much anything, yeah.
A grain elevator tractor for the road or whatever out there. So, and I had heard probably at least 5 to 8 years ago that the car had done some like half-mile events in the Midwest area.
Yeah, it was at SEMA a couple times, I think, since.
Really?
I think it was there, like out in the display.
Seriously?
Somebody was saying.
I don't think I knew
I
that.
don't think we saw it, but somebody had mentioned it after the fact.
Yeah.
Pretty sure that was the same.
Yeah, I don't know. So yeah. Someone's asking, please make us B9.5 SQ5 owners real exhaust tips. Audis are 1300 and Fabspeeds are 1000. That's something we're talking about. It gets into some products that we don't normally do, like body stuff, but it's something we're talking about. It is a tragedy.
The turn down things.
Yeah. Would an intake and intercooler add a couple more horsepower on a Mk8 GTI on stage 1? Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So the factory tune, well, the stage 1 tune is compatible with the factory intercooler and intake, but with the additional restrictions and lack of heat capacity, you do lose power. So once you upgrade those, the ECU will unlock the additional power and potential there. What's the lifetime on spherical bearings on suspension parts versus ball joints? Interesting enough, spherical bearings do not last as long as ball joints. Part of it is that ball joints are very nicely sealed.
Yeah.
But the sphericals can last a long time. It really depends on where you are, what your environment is. In areas that put salt on the roads, they're going to have a much shorter life. Like possibly you might have to replace them every year or two. Out here in California, where it's dry and there's no salt on the roads, they can last a very long time, 5-10 years. So yeah, I mean, it just depends. Ball joints typically will last longer than that, but the ball joints also don't get used in all the same applications, so it's not necessarily fair to compare them. We use top quality, premium quality bearings and sphericals in all of our stuff, either by Aurora or FK. Really good stuff. So yeah, but they are a wear item and they do need to be replaced. Things like sway bar end links will last longer because there's much less movement and articulation. So yeah. Can you transfer ownership of a tune to someone that purchases your vehicle? Sometimes you can. If you want to do that, you need to email tuning@034motorsport.com. It's actually not up to me. If it really came down to it, yes, I would weigh in. But the customer service team has their policies that they abide by, and you can email them and they'll evaluate your request. Why do you guys not support the C8 3.0T powertrain? Doesn't it share the same powertrain as a B9 S4 S5?
No, it's not the same powertrain. Those have a completely different transmission. They've got a later gen DL382 instead of the ZF8 8-speed. So different powertrain. We've got calibrations for them, but they're not fully released and tested.
Yeah.
So we are working on those. We've done quite a bit of work on it already. But no, they are their own powertrain, their own calibrations.
B8.5 3.0T going stage 2 plus soon. Any specific injectors you would recommend to replace or upgrade? Now, I mean, all the tunes are for stock injectors.
Yeah, OEM stock injectors.
Yeah,
there are some much cheaper options out there, but
like aftermarket.
Yeah, there's some aftermarket stuff.
Not worth it.
I wouldn't recommend those or rebuilt or anything like that. I would stick with just good, quality OEM injectors.
This is a vague question. What's the best setup for a 2014 B8.5 S4?
There's a lot.
Really depends what you're looking for, what your budget is, what your tolerance is for reliability. I would recommend going to our website and putting your car in, your make, model, and going from there. Generally, I would say for the most people, our stage 1 or Stage 2 tune.
Stage 2 spot.
Stage 2.
Yeah. You got this. You got to do all the supporting mods.
Yeah, heat exchanger, do our springs, sway bars, inserts. You know, that's going to be a really nice setup. Really will transform the car. I have a 13A6 with 3.0 supercharged V6. I want to go dual pulley setup. However, I have about 120,000 miles. I'm worried about additional wear on the supercharger. Any advice?
Yeah, I haven't seen really
that's
any
good.
issues with the supercharger unit itself. There's a oiling process to change out the oil on the front head unit of it, but that's not going to matter at all, tuned or otherwise. You want to do that no matter what. But yeah, tuning's not really going to impact this. It's going to spin a little bit faster, but again, for the amount of time you're at the high RPM stuff, it's going to be marginally different. The rest of the stuff is, your intercooler bricks. Make sure those are in good shape. 120K, you're very likely end of life on your current intercoolers. Same with the injectors we just talked about. So, yeah, I wouldn't worry too much about the supercharger itself, though. Not that I've seen one that's been physically like worn out due to a stage 2 tune.
No, the superchargers are very reliable and rarely have issues.
Yeah.
Stage 3 TTE810 on E85. Every now and then I get the same fault.
Yeah, it's a heater O2 sensor heater circuit.
Yeah.
So that's similar to the one we were talking about before. They are the damages we've seen, or the times we've seen this come up, it's been a harness issue on those. So that's where we generally would look first. I don't know if on this case if he's swapped that yet, or if it's just on whatever sensor he had previously. I mean, if you're swapping sensors and you're getting that a lot, that would be strange. But the ones we've seen, they pop up, and yeah, it's a damage to the harness. And it can be tight in the back too, where you're putting them in. They can get really crimped over when you're trying to install that sensor.
It's like 7 and 8 are duplicates, and we just answered 6. Like,
yeah, we had a big one on that in the last one.
Yeah. How do I activate launch control on my B8.5? I've attempted twice and clunked the transmission twice. Feeling pretty dumb. Thanks for the help.
We have a video on this. It's the same as factory. I don't know if you have done it factory, but it's traction control fully off. Everything's going to be up to temperature, and then yeah, just have the selector in sport or manual sport, and then foot heavy on the brake, and you should be able then to free rev to the launch hold point. And with our software, you can also turn on the advanced launch side of things, where you turn your cruise control stock on, and then you can select where that launch point is. So, but as far as engaging it and turning it on and enabling the launch control, that is going to be the exact same as stock. So if it's not engaging with all those procedures, check, make sure you don't have any fault codes or anything like that in the transmission, and just hit us up, tuning at 034, and we'll see if we can take a look at maybe some logs or videos and see quite what all is going on, and see why you're not getting into launch control. But it's the same as stock, and it's a pretty straightforward procedure once you're used to it.
Sure, exactly what this one means. Do you work on others upgrades for fueling systems for B9 platform, bigger injectors, or a bigger high pressure fuel pump? Because here we don't have ethanol, and I'm limited on fuel system. And if you're on gasoline, there's not a lot of limit.
Yeah, for what is out there, you're pretty well set up once you've got a high pressure pump and the injectors that are currently available for that setup.
Yeah, even like on 110 octane or 104 or something like that, you can still make full stage 3 power.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yes, we do have upgrades coming, but most of our fueling upgrades will be to unlock more power for E85.
Yeah, it's the ethanol blended. So.
We just haven't seen the need for gasoline. I mean, probably past 800 horsepower, then something, maybe.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you want to give us a little more detail on why you think you need more fuel.
Yeah, right now the biggest challenge is getting an injector that'll do it all. Having the range we need, where we're not, we've got all the resolution for the gasoline calibrations and the 85 flow.
I'm on stage 1 ECU TCU B9 S4 when cruising on highway at 70 miles per hour and decide to overtake a car and suddenly hit the gas pedal to max. I see a surge in RPM, but car takes too long to put that power down.
Yeah, you have a 8-speed transmission that is downshifting probably 5 gears to get to the optimal gear for maximum acceleration. So if
It's
you're
also not a long time.
It's not a long time, but there is a hesitation because it's got to literally, get down 4 or 5 gears depending on where you are and rev match to that point. So that's why you get to see that RPM surge. So yeah, I mean, if you want the transmission to know what you're going to do ahead of time, you can just put it in manual mode and drop down 3 or 4 gears and be ready to go. But otherwise, the transmission's reactive and has to say, "Oh, hey, you want to pass now? Okay, give me a second. I got to get you into the right gear for that." And that's what that delay is.
Take solace in knowing that it's probably not a lot longer than it would take you to do in a manual car.
Yes,
And you have
exactly.
less chance of putting it into first gear going 80 miles an hour.
Yeah, for a manual car downshift to the right RPM or right power band. Yep.
You're dropping 2 gears reliably while you're moving can be a challenge. So, B9.5 SQ5 Stage 1 tune X34 intake with super duper inlet. Why is it sometimes the car feels faster or more torquey than other times? Like sometimes it feels super fast and other times just meh.
I don't know. That's a very subjective thing we're trying to measure here. We would need to see data to see if there's anything in it.
Logs would help evaluate that if there's something wrong.
Yeah.
The engine and ECU don't always make the same exact power. When your motor is cool, when your air intake system is cool, you're going to make more power than after a bunch of repeated pulls where you have kind of a hot intake environment that needs to cool off. So, and then there's times of day and temperature and stuff like that too. So, but if you're talking about relatively same conditions, then that could be cause for concern. Something could be wrong.
Yep.
Do you guys have a flex fuel tune between 91, 93, E85? No, we not flex.
So yeah, I dropped this question here because I think a lot of people need to be careful with this. Flex is not going to flex or change for octanes of gasoline.
No,
that is not what flex fuel can or is to be used for. So you can't just like throw a flex fuel tune on and go run 91 octane or 100 octane or 93 octane and expect that to somehow account for the difference there. Flex fuel is just to account for whatever your base octane level of your gasoline side of that flex tune is, up through to E85, which is much kind of a known octane at full E85. So it will not account for 91 versus 93 versus 100. That's all going to be baked into the stock base calibration. So just be very careful with it.
Yeah, flex fuel sensor is not an octane sensor. It's a fuel sensor.
Quantity, percentage of ethanol.
Yeah, it measures the ethanol content. That's it.
Yep. And yes, we have a large number of calibrations in the works that will do flex across these platforms.
Why do the injectors to go stage 3 all have the exact same part number for B9 platform going stage 3? Is there an actual difference in lifespan performance other than price and name, Bosch, OEM, etc.?
I mean, they're the spec injectors for that application, so that's why they all have the same part number. Bosch, I mean, the OEM jet injectors are, for the most part on these platforms, Bosch, so that's why.
Yeah. There's only the injector that we require is a factory injector of one part number and application. So yeah, that's why. The latest ECU TCU for the B9 S4 S5 requires a lot more pedal travel for the car to wake up and go into boost. Car feels less torquey and sleepy. Have you heard anything about this?
Mm-mm. No, we
didn't change anything that dramatic.
No, there wasn't anything that dramatic in most of the. I mean, all of the ECU updates that have been coming along lately. That we're just migrating older platforms or generally when vehicles get out of like warranty era stuff, we will try and consolidate to the latest version of the software for a given platform. And there's a lot of B9s that have been seeing that lately, but the calibrations themselves are the same. So, you know, any changes, it's certainly not less torquey. The power delivery should be the same. There might be some small differences in the pedal mapping between the OEM versions, but it should not be, you know, dramatic in any way.
For number 2, can you guys look on the dealer locator? Is there? It's got to be.
It's number 1.
There's a whole network of dealers. Before I jump in that one. Riding on your springs, replacing stock dampers with Bilstein B4 OE replacement or B8 designed for lowering springs. Which one should I go for? I mean, I can't say for sure, but based on that, I would go for the lowered ones because our springs do lower the car. So yeah, definitely go with the B8. The best TTEers for a project with good aftermarket support. I mean, the absolute weaponiest TT that I've ever driven is the 8S TT RS.
Yeah, I was going to say 8S as well. Just it's a very nice chassis and platform, and there's, you know, full tuning support across the board, ECU and TCUs and those.
Yeah.
So,
and you don't even need to go past stage.
If you're talking TTRS, yeah, but even the 2-liter stuff, you get tons of options there, and yeah. The TTRS 8S TTRS, which would be like what was 18 through 2021.
Yeah, whatever it's this current generation basically.
It's one prior, but yeah, because it's all 8Y and the new stuff now. Well, I didn't even have.
No, there is.
Yeah, there isn't.
8S was the last.
It's the last TT.
Yeah. They didn't update 8S. I mean, it's all still mostly MQB anyways. But yeah, no, that's what I do. Also an 8S TT. Sorry, an 8S TTS.
That's what I was saying. The 2-liter version
is a nice little car. You're not going to make as much power, but you can do all the same suspension.
Yep. Yeah.
But for our catalog, definitely the TTRS would be the way to go. Okay, so someone says, hi from Scotland. I ordered a super duper air intake for my 2019 RS5. Looking forward to it arriving. I'm also looking to go stage 1 remap, but I need to travel 7 hours to a garage called Awesome in Manchester for this, as they're the only 0-4 garage in the UK. Is it worth it? What is the difference between a 0-4 remap and a remap I could get done in Aberdeen for less cost and without the travel on my doorstep? Okay, so first off, I would recommend talking to Awesome and seeing what they can do for you. You can flash your car remotely with our cable dongle product. So you wouldn't have to drive anywhere. You just have to buy the cable dongle, and then you could flash with your phone.
Yep.
So you don't have to drive 7 hours to get our remap. There are also dealers across the UK through the Awesome dealer network. So there is a chance that you have a dealer in your area through Awesome. So that's why if you speak to them. But if you really don't want to flash the car yourself, then yes, you will have to drive somewhere. But I strongly recommend buying the cable and flashing the car yourself, and then you can switch maps and you can enjoy the SPI app. And
there's diagnostic stuff in there if you ever need for your vehicle. So it's got a bunch of other features as well.
Yeah, as far as what the difference is, I mean, you're talking about the 034 Motorsport tune, which is arguably the most developed, most premium, most widely used, most optimized file on the market, versus, you know, whatever Bullock's Garage is doing down the street, which who knows? You know, they could just be reselling you a file from Dim Sport, or, you know, some canned file from a catalog. They could have a calibrator try to do a custom remap on your car who has very little experience or time with the platform. So We sell a lot of these calibrations in the UK, even though there's a lot of custom bespoke tuners there. Our tunes and our files are going to be substantially better developed than anything like that. And so it's kind of like, the quality you would get in a widely distributed mass-produced product is what you get in our files. So yeah, I mean, but you can flash at home in the comfort of your own driveway. So that shouldn't be a problem. And we're confident you'll be very happy with the decision to go with our file. Hey guys, running a ton of your stuff on my B8.5 3.0 T. Do you have any stage 3 stuff in the works?
Yep, yeah, we do.
Mhm.
Yeah, a lot of it right now is fueling system upgrades. But yeah, we've got a bunch of cars on Merc Racing blowers now, and some on some Wilder stuff. So yeah, we're working on a bunch of other bigger options out there on the V8 3-liter market. It's not a very big market, you could say, at this point for the stage 3 stuff, just because the barrier to entry is pretty high for swapping out that supercharger unit. But we're doing our best to make them as quick and reliable as we can.
As preventative maintenance, is it worth cleaning the map sensors on my B8 S4, and is it safe to do so with liquid map sensor cleaner?
I don't know that I've seen anybody that's needed to personally. I certainly haven't here. It sounds like a way to introduce more problems than.
Yeah, if anyone would, it's us. I mean, it should be okay if you really think you need to, but may cause more trouble than it's worth. We just said, yeah, like Nate said, we've never seen a need for, like, no customer has ever needed to do that that we've ever seen.
Not that's contact that I've heard of anyway.
Map sensors are pretty robust devices. They just measure the pressure in the intake. So,
yep.
Oh, it's O2 sensor day.
It really is.
My car is throwing an O2 sensor code at full throttle, but I'm running the racing catalyst file. Thought that turned off B8.5 3.0 stage 2 plus.
What fault? Yeah, we need to know what fault you're actually getting. There's a whole bunch of stuff that could be happening.
But it can still throw faults.
Oh yeah, we're still making sure the sensors are working and that the sensors are there. But and there's stage 2 plus file. There's 2 plus and there's 2 plus test pipe versions of that file. So we need to know a lot more info to help you out.
Can you review my data log and let me know if there's any boost leak possibly from the PCV system? Will data log be able to catch this?
At times it can. PCV stuff can be tricky because it's a leak into a sealed chamber essentially, so you don't necessarily see it that well on on a data log with some boost in it, because what it's doing is it's just pressurizing your crankcase as well. So it's not that much of a leak to atmosphere per se. So yeah, it's not the easiest thing to catch. But we can certainly take a look at the logs and make sure you're about where it should be there.
Launch control on a 6-speed manual transmission possible? I have a Mk8 and I think it would be cool.
Yes, it is. We offer it. Well, we don't offer it yet, but it's something we do offer currently on the B8 S4 stuff, and we'll be bringing those features up to a bunch of other platforms as well. So yeah, it's in our roadmap, and it'll be adjustable for the launch RPM and whatnot, just like the B8s are currently.
8VS3, is it normal to hear turbo flutter with stage 1 and a full intake?
Yep.
Yeah. We've talked about this before. You have the bypass valve, which is recirculating air around the turbo, but it does take some milliseconds for it to open. So during that time, you will hear some turbo flutter, and there are times where it may not open. The ECU may not decide to open it. But all those noises are intentionally filtered out and blocked by the factory intake system. That's why there's those mufflers and those resonators in the factory intake. So, but yeah, that's normal. 2023 Q7 3.0 stage 1, will it wake up a bit seems a little dead OEM. Yeah,
Yeah,
you could say that.
It wakes up quite a lot. Yes.
I don't even think it's waking up. I think it's going to be going from sleep to full party mode in a fraction of a second.
Yep.
Yeah, no, it will transform the power of the car. The stock power is nice. It's sufficient to get the car where you need to go, but the car will go from sleepy to feeling downright fast. You will like it. I have a S3 2023. If I remap to stage 1 low torque, do I need to upgrade some parts as well? If so, what parts should I upgrade?
You don't need to.
We do list all required modifications on the product page of every tune, so you can go there and take a look. For stage 1, typically we do not require any upgrades. They're designed for a bone stock car. So it's really when you get into stage 2 and the higher stages that there are required modifications. Now, with that said, you will greatly benefit by putting an intercooler and intake on for stage 1, but not required. But you'll see the benefits in power and acceleration there. We must have a clip out for number 3, right?
Yes.
Yes.
I just feel like I'm repeating myself. Someone's asking about a reverse staggered setup. I don't have these sizes off the top of my head, but they want to know.
On an RS3.
Yeah.
So, oh, like the factory.
As far as like 265 and 245, that sounds about right.
Yeah,
I just don't want to lead you wrong. You need to maintain your rolling diagram.
Yeah, and you want to validate that is still correct with the given tire brands you're going with, and the actual model tire you're going with. Look at the actual circumference and make sure it's within the spec that you're looking for. Because you'd think tire sizes would just be math, but they can be pretty wildly different, even though they say the same numbers on the side of the tire.
Yeah. Is it a good idea to tune a B8.5 A4 front-wheel drive CVT? I don't know a lot about those cars.
Generally, it's not the best idea from the ones we've seen. I know of a couple people that have and gotten away with it, but it's that transmission.
As far as reliability of
that transmission struggles the stock output.
Yeah, I would just say I don't know, but it doesn't. If I had to guess, I would say no. This is why nobody makes CVTs really anymore. It was a good idea, bad in reality.
I think Subaru is still cranking on some CVTs.
Well, that checks out. I have an Audi RS5 2018 build. Is there a recommended mileage to replace rocker arms? We don't have one. We've seen very few cases of this. Overall, there's been very few cases. We've seen rocker arms fail on newer cars, but again, very rare. It's not a cheap or easy job, so I would say wait until you feel like you need to do it. But if you're concerned about it and it's keeping you up at night, then just go do it now.
Yeah, you can get I know a number of people have done like not borescope, but a little flexible fiber optic camera in there to see what generation of rocker arms they have at least, just so it's not all speculation and guessing. So you can certainly do that, but that's a tough one. If it's that's more just a peace of mind thing versus it's gonna fail thing.
Yeah. So the other thing is, if you want to go stage 3, let's say, and do 720s, you could go in there and do the head studs and replace your head gaskets, and that would be a good time to do your rocker arms. It would be a while you're in there type job. So something to consider combining it with that. Someone's asking what the trophies are behind me. The short gray guy. Yes, I guess that's me. Let's see. Well, this was keep in mind, we haven't gotten a trophy in a long time. I don't know if we're just not doing something right, but this was the Eurotuner Grand Prix Road Course Winner All-Wheel Drive Award for 2007.
Yeah, they changed those to participation awards at 1.2, which really frustrated us.
That only happened once, and then I made them. understand that could never happen. We won the unlimited FF class at the Global Time Attack in 2006. Very exciting.
Yeah, and they were also asking what vehicle we had that, or what project car won the most of them.
This was the 2011 overall champion for the Euro Tuner Grand Prix. That means we swept all 3 events and hurt a lot of people's feelings. It was very sad. This was from TTE, right?
I honestly
Yeah.
don't remember.
This was a nice trophy we got from TTE for selling lots of their turbos. We didn't know we would get one, but it was very nice. So thank you, the guys at TTE.
They came and visited a while back.
This was back when Redline Time Attack was a thing. So this is we won Laguna Seca in 2007.
Wow, what platform? That was the.
Oh my god, look, there's like a dead spider.
That's wonderful. Trying to think of what setup that was. That was probably the A4 with the VR6.
Did get a trophy recently. This was a trophy we got from ECS Tuning in 2024, just not too long ago, for an innovation award for being the brand that they represent with the most innovation. We're very proud of that. So, and there's a whole bunch of. Oh, go grab the big one.
You want the big one?
This one's now over 20 years old.
Yeah, 20. This one can drink.
I'm very proud of this one. So this is from Dub Wars 2003, when I piloted my ADTQ and won first place in the 13 to 13.99 second class. This now that sounds really slow these days. Like I think Volkswagen Tauruses go faster than that, but back in 2003,
why do we have hand sanitizer here?
I don't know. Back in 2003, I think I ran like a 13.1, so it was like I was knocking on the door of 12s, but that was very fast. And this award was given to me by a very pretty girl in a bikini.
Yo.
That made me feel a little bit embarrassed and nervous. And then my speech.
It's now a core memory, apparently.
Yeah, my speech was not as good as it could have been because this half-naked pretty girl was standing right next to me and just making me feel shook.
Yeah, we've got a more display cases here. This is on the path to some of those trophies. Some things get hurt from time to time. That was a pinion gear from O1E transmission that was in the back of our GTI RS that decided to check out after about 1,000 horsepower. Just putting through it on the course.
It's not easy to do. That's what a GT42 RS running 45 pounds of boost will do. So, anyways, yeah, lots of memories here. Thanks for asking. I dove into that one a little bit because we're a little light on questions today, and I think
we had a lot of kind of the same vein of questions
stuff.
and a lot of update stuff. Yeah.
You know, at some point we will have answered all the questions.
My wife asked me every one of these,
so.
just like, why or how did
Nate's wife's like, how are there new questions every week? And I'm like, imagine it's about like dogs. You know, you could probably talk about that every week for an hour. Right. Thoughts on the B10 S5 powertrain and the whole product naming scheme change that Audi is doing? Oh. Well, the product naming scheme, I'm not sure where that's at. I heard about it, and then I heard they reversed course on it because it was dumb. I do think it's dumb. I think, I name products for a living. And so if I was Audi, I would just throw an E somewhere before or after. But like an A4 is an A4, and it always needs to stay an A4. Like a 4-door mid-size sedan is an A4. And an A5 we know now is a coupe, a mid-size coupe, you know, with however many doors you want it to have. So I'm not sure where they're going to land. I'm not even sure if Audi still sells cars here anymore. They have stopped all shipments to the US for the time being, along with many other brands.
Yep.
So who knows? Now, as far as the powertrain, I like it. I really like the hybrid drivetrain. I love how they stuck basically an electric motor in line with the drive shaft. So there's an electric motor with some kind of little, gearbox attached to it. And there's a female input spline and a male output spline, and just kind of goes right into the drive shaft, and they can turn that on and off and add and augment power seamlessly with electric motors. So I think that's really cool. As always, we're not sure what it means for our tuning and calibration program. Probably not a great outlook anytime soon, but we always do our best, and we've been doing this for 20 years, and so have a lot of other companies. So we're planning on being able to calibrate and offer calibrations for those at some point, but probably not for a few years. But overall, it's always nice to get into the new stuff.
Yeah.
Someone asked, when you got your trophy, did you have the Woody? No, I managed not to get an erection, thankfully. That would have been really embarrassing. And then all the blood would have left my head. Probably would have passed out. Yeah, no, that's good. I was good there, just a little social anxiety. I'm that one dumb who decided to tune it to stage 1 APR. Now I want to go back to stock. Don't feel like paying for it. Okay.
This is where you added to.
Oh, this is someone saying they tuned a B9 CVT front-wheel drive A4. They don't say why, but they said that it was a dumb decision.
Yeah, I think you just said it was a little
Yeah.
questionable to do that on the CVTs. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I don't know. It's not. Yeah, they're not the best transmissions out there.
Question: when raising the red line to 7,200 RPM, is that still pretty conservative for the engine on stage 1 B8 3.0 T?
Yeah, we've had exactly 0 issues
Yeah,
on those. We've tested them well beyond that.
Mm-hmm.
So most of our higher rev files will run to 7,600, depending on gears, and still had 0 issues on those as well. The power is falling off generally by 7,200, so it's not a lot of reason to go higher. Yeah, they've been fully, tested up through there for many years now.
Is hybridization the way? Is this is referring to what Audi's doing? A lot of people or companies seem to think so. I think is it Toyota that's really focusing on hybrid electrification? Given the fact that full electric has a way to go as far as like the infrastructure in this country, then not sure, what will happen, but it is a good option. I think it's great to have a car that can do both. So yeah, we'll see. If I get a flash instead of getting my car on the dyno, am I getting the same results, and what advantages or disadvantages does each option have?
So I think this question is like
Custom
tune versus just a traditional.
We've talked
off-the-shelf
extensively
flash.
about this.
Getting a vehicle flashed on a dyno doesn't mean it's going to make either more power or more reliable power.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing inherent there that will mean you can get an answer by asking this question that would mean anything. Having a car on a dyno does not make it tune. It means that they are able to potentially measure one situation in one set of variables once. That doesn't paint a lot of the picture, or doesn't really showcase any other testing or validation that might have happened for that calibration to become a thing. How's it going to work in the winter? How's it going to be altitude? How's it going to work?
Yeah. We have a really good clip out of this. Can you guys send that to them?
Yeah.
We literally talked about it for like 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Have you guys seen any valve stem issues on the EA888 Gen 4? This was an issue on Gen 3, but curious to know if you guys have seen anything on the newest Gen 4.
I don't think we've seen any valve stem problems yet.
There's this thing in the Gen 4 owners generation where they seem to have big concerns about all the issues that were an issue in Gen 3 or in Mark 7. Just because it was an issue on Mark 7 doesn't mean it's going to be an issue on Mark 8 and vice versa. So No, we have not seen that yet.
And thankfully, usually, you know, the Mark 7 had a lot of time in the market and had a lot of OEM updates and iterations and a lot of the parts that were in there. So you're basically starting off with a bunch of the refinements that were already done to make the Mark 7.
Yeah, anything that was wrong with the Mark 7, Volkswagen got to see that and had a chance to address it. So.
The dyno question was he said I'm talking about stage 034 stage 1 flash compared to 034 stage 1 flash on the dyno. There's no difference. There's no such thing as a dyno flash that would change anything. So that's usually when people are asking questions like that, they're calling a dyno tune a custom calibration. But no, the software you flash from our server to your car is going to be the exact same whether you do it from your phone, from a laptop, on a dyno in a parking lot, in your garage. It's all going to be the same software.
Someone's asking, is Awesome GTI your sole supplier in the UK now? Well, not really, no. I mean, they have been. So for about 5 years, we have only sold our parts either to Awesome GTI or to the general public who order it off our website. Awesome has been the only supplier, tuner, distributor, e-commerce website that has sold 034 parts. Now, that just means that they're the ones that bring it into the country. Our parts are sold and offered through a network of dealers in the UK besides Awesome. So Awesome is what would be known as a wholesale distributor. And they bring our parts into the UK. They get them through customs. They deal with all the pricing and the differences on exchange rates. And then they make our products UK market ready. And then they distribute those to retail customers and to wholesale customers who then sell them to retail customers. Recently, we made a change where we're no longer selling direct to the UK. And that is because we're at a point now where Awesome can supply and service 034 customers in the UK better than we can. They have an extensive and very complete inventory, so almost anything you want to buy is in stock. That's a requirement for us to make this change. And they've proven that they're very capable, reliable partner that has the same kind of customer service standards and practices that we have. And so at this point, in order to ensure that they can continue to support the UK market in the great way they have been, we've made them the sole business wholesale customer in the UK. But that doesn't mean that other UK businesses won't carry and sell our products. So there should be at least 50 to 100 other sources for our products in the UK that all get funneled through Awesome. Okay. Hopefully that clears up any issues. If you ever have a problem or a concern, don't be afraid to reach out to Awesome or us. At the end of the day, our goal and sole priority is to make sure the customers are taken care of. And we will always bend over backwards to make sure that happens. Okay. Are different control arms recommended for your lowering springs for the B8.5 S5? No. You will want to loosen your control arms and retighten them at the new ride height, however, though. Because those bushings will preload and twist with the new lower position of the car. So you just got to go in and loosen all those bolts where the rubber bushings are and tighten them back up with the car at rest. Okay. EBC blue or yellow for light track day, stage S3, stage 2, with all the 034 parts. I don't have a ton of experience with EBC. I would say in general, I've never, the times I have driven them on track, none of the compounds held up on track. But I think it really depends on how fast or hard you're driving, how hard you're braking into corners. I would say, your best luck would be with their most aggressive compound, and just, keep an eye on your entry speeds and how much you're using the brakes. But in general, that's why we're bringing our pads to market. They're curated for specific uses, either kind of aggressive street or light or heavy track. And they're validated by us, so we know exactly what they do. So feel free to check out some of our applications as well. We have a full line coming.
Yeah, I feel like the only ones we have run any luck were the orange compounds. I think there was this application where
Is that the most
that's,
aggressive?
That's their like
Yeah.
race. The blues are probably the next one down.
Well, that applies to HR too. Most
Mhm.
aggressive. I've been thinking of installing your B8.5 transmission inserts. Will I feel any sort of NVH? Do they actually make a real difference? So we grabbed one here to show you. So this is the insert, and this is the factory transmission mount. It's made from rubber and it's very squishy. And so our insert goes in and fills this space. So it still uses the same 2 bolts, although we provide new bolts with it. And it fills the void you can't really see, but normally there's a void all around this. And now it's filled with the aluminum, the fingers of the aluminum insert. So we came up with this 10 years ago now, probably. And everyone else has tried to copy it in various capacities. But yes, it makes a big difference. It really does reduce the for a relatively low cost. It's a big bang for the buck and helping reduce your drivetrain movement, making your motor feel more connected to the car, making it feel like your acceleration is more connected to the wheels. NVH is very minimal. I think the majority of customers would state that there's virtually no NVH.
Yep.
But we do get comments every once in a while, and I think it's probably something to do with the installation or possibly like a defect in the mount, that we do get occasional complaints about there being some NVH. But even then, it's minimal. It's worse in DSGs because, you know, when you go in, when you're stopped and you're in gear with your foot on the brake, it does generate some vibration. But overall, a really friendly, great upgrade. We've sold probably
A lot.
many tens of thousands of these.
Yeah,
We had a lot of happy customers.
we had dealers installing them.
Factory dealers, yeah.
Still to install them. Just they help mitigate some of the lurch and clunk on some of the DSG cars, even from the factory when you come to a stop. So they were using this as one of their dealer fixes. So yeah, no, it's a very low compromise part that gets you all kinds of benefits with your big power transitions.
That's a good question. Any thoughts you can share on OEM negative rake versus adjusting to a neutral or positive rake? Well, that is something that we take into account for every spring we do. So a lot of the factory stance, I'll call it, is kind of level to kind of leaning towards the back, where the front is higher. Not sure. But our goal is to always bring the car down and give it like a slight positive rake, which means the car is sort of leaning forward a little bit, and it gives it that look or impression that the car is moving forward, not backwards. I think, I don't know, there's a trend, what's it called with the trucks now?
The Carolina squat.
Is that what it's called? Oh my God. And there's guys doing this on purpose for some reason I don't understand. If you're watching this and you've done that, wonderful. But that's not what we go for here. So we're going for more of a positive rake. And the good thing too with positive rake is, especially on cars like the SUVs, like the Q7 or the Q5 SQ5, is it means you can load up the back of the car and you're going to maintain that suspension travel. So hopefully with 3 people in the back of the car, you're not going to be doing that Carolina dump look. Whatever. Is that what it's called? Carolina dump?
It basically looks like a dog taking a dump.
Yeah.
So yeah.
The dog dump look. But yeah, that's something we take into account, as well as the performance implications of lowering the center of gravity, taking into account, shock and strut travel and things like that. So our goal is, for the car to have a level or slightly forward raked look and make that just more pleasing, as well as closing up the fender gaps. How will ECU flashing work with EVs? That's a good question. Not really much different than it does now. With Volkswagen and Audi and cars that aren't Teslas, we will be able to do that when the market really demands it. So we can go in and remap those engine control units. They still have ECUs in them, just like we do the gas. In some cases, they're very similar.
Yeah,
Protocols?
generationally, it depends on the vehicle.
Yeah.
Yeah, some of it is very, very similar to the gas ECUs, where we're dealing with torque model stuff on the engines. So basically, you take that torque model, your pedal map, and then it's all in just how that's deployed and developed. And obviously with an ICE motor, it's bangs and squishing and lots of physical things that are happening. With an electric motor, it's just outputting a certain set of parameters to the motor controllers. So the actual parameters and mapping in there is actually surprisingly similar in some regards.
Yeah. Not a question, but my B8.5 SQ5 was totaled by some idiot. Looking forward to the next chapter. Either going to be a B9.5 SQ5 or SQ7. Still listen to live for the nostalgia, and I love the company and culture.
Awesome.
Oh, that means a lot. That's cool that you're still here, and thank you for being here. Appreciate it.
SQ5 versus SQ7, they're both awesome vehicles.
Oh, yeah.
We've got obviously a lot on the plate right now for the SQ5, and we've got a bunch of stuff coming for the SQ7 as well. So
that's right.
You'll be in good hands either way. The number one's pretty good.
Oh yeah. How many times have other companies tried to copy your designs, such as the trans-billet insert or X-Price? So this is a sensitive topic. If you follow our kind of Instagram page, we do kind of meme campaigns during Black Friday. And every year we usually do a meme about this, and we kind of call out one competitor or another for blatantly ripping off our products. It's true. We have inspired a lot of the industry. There are many products that we brought to market, concepts that we brought to market that virtually every other Audi tuning company does now. And I think from our perspective, we look at it as we'd rather be the innovator than the follower. Our goal is to be out front. We want to be the company bringing those new things, those new ideas to market. In a lot of cases, we're getting accused of that too, because we're offering similar or same products or applications in the market. And I will say, whenever we bring a new product to market, even if there's an existing version on the market, our goal is always to make it different, hopefully different in that it's way better. We're not really just trying to copy what someone else has done. But yeah, there's a number of tuning companies in this industry that half their catalogs, they just went through our catalog and copied our products. In some cases, blatantly copied. So it's just kind of goes with the territory. You can either be the leader or the follower. If you're the leader, then you're going to get a lot of copycats. And I guess, as they say, you just you take it as flattery, as a compliment that your stuff was good enough to knock off. Another thing that happens is the second you get a really, really successful product, the Chinese companies notice.
Yep.
And they'll start knocking it off, and you start seeing it on eBay and Amazon, places like that. So we have a whole campaign to just go after those guys because they're actual, in some cases, they're counterfeiting. They're even selling it in 034 packaging.
Yeah, trying to use all of our media and marketing and one as well.
So at the end of the day, if you value what we're doing and the investments we make into new products and pushing the platform forward, please support us. If you want to save a buck and you're willing to take a gamble, you can buy some of the copycat stuff. Just know that in general, they have absolutely no idea what they're producing, that they just literally knocked something off without the intimate knowledge of what the product is, what it does, without the testing and validation of the product. And in many cases, we end up seeing those customers anyways when they finally want the real deal, the actual properly engineered and manufactured version.
Yep.
But yeah, it does go on.
As far as how many?
Thousands.
Yeah.
many hundreds at least.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I said, that is just the way it goes. All right, I think we're pretty much out of time.
We're getting there, yeah.
Yeah. All right, it's been an hour, so thank you guys for joining us, and we'll see you next week, I think. All right, cheers.
Cheers.